effort in ensuring the success of this lecture. We say well done. And as the Beninese will say, Wahia Wawesi, to everyone present here today, we say thank you once again for coming to honor us with your attendance. Wahia Wawesi. We pray that God will bless you all for coming, and we pray that the light of God's face will continue to shine upon you and everyone that has come and be gracious to you. May God lift up his countenance upon you all and give you peace. Thank you again and welcome.
I believe the provost deserves a better round of applause for that welcome address. By way of a correction, it's been brought to my attention that the former Chief Medical Director, University of Benin Teaching Hospital, is an emeritus professor of medicine, and the person in question is Emeritus Professor Obasohan. Please, can we appreciate him again? Thank you very much. IUO, authentic. If you are happy to be here, please put your hands together for yourself. At this juncture, I'd like to welcome to the microphone our very own distinguished Vice Chancellor, who is represented today by our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Raphael Igbinosa Adege, for his address, please. We can do better than that. We can do better than that.
IUO, please be seated. This is an address being delivered by Professor Lawrence Echiku Ezemoye. But in his absence now, I am taking the address. Our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Ibrahim Adeola Katibi, Principal Officers of the University, Provost, Deans and Directors, Heads of Departments, Units, staff and students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Public lectures, such as the one we have today, play a crucial role in bringing the gap between the academia and the wider community. They provide a forum for the exchange of ideas, the dissemination of knowledge, and the fostering of collaborations that can lead to tangible improvement in healthcare and well-being. As a university deeply rooted in service, we recognize the importance of sharing our expertise and contributing to inform public discourse on critical health issues. It is on this note that I feel delighted to welcome you all to this 2023 Oba Okunade Sijuade College of Health Sciences lecture. This lecture stands as a testament to the vibrant intellectual environment we foster here at Igbinedion University, and underscores our unwavering commitment to advancing knowledge and promoting impactful dialogue within the crucial field of health sciences. I'm particularly delighted to welcome our guest speaker for today, Professor Ibrahim Adeola Katibi, a distinguished professor of medicine from University of Ilorin, We thank you most sincerely for honoring us. You will hear more from when he will be, his citations will be read. The lecture topic, man versus machine. Are computers taking over the doctor's role in heart diagnosis? Is very apt, especially in this era of disruptive technological revolution sweeping through the world, like every other profession that is threatened by technology. The man versus machine scenario in heart diagnosis is of a contemporary relevance. While computers and artificial intelligence, AI, are rapidly advancing in their ability to analyze medical data and assist in heart diagnosis, it is my conjecture that they are not yet taking over the complete role of our medical doctors. Instead, the current and likely future trend points towards a collaboration between humans and machines. This is my personal opinion, and that is why we must wait to hear from the expert in the person of our esteemed guest speaker. I have no doubt in my mind that given your pedigree, you will do justice to the paper. Today's lecture provides a valuable platform for us to engage with cutting-edge research, exploring emerging trends, and gain insights from leading experts in medical innovation. The College of Health Sciences has consistently demonstrated its dedication to addressing pressing health challenges through rigorous academic inquiry and community engagement. And this public lecture is a vital extension of that mission. I extend my sincere gratitude to the provost and the faculty of the College of Health Sciences for their ongoing commitment to academic excellence. Your dedication to nurturing the next generation of healthcare professionals and advancing the frontiers of medical knowledge is truly inspiring. To our students, I encourage you to actively participate in this lecture. This is an invaluable opportunity to learn from a leading figure in the field, to broaden your perspectives and to ignite your passion for discovery and innovation in health science. Engage with the speaker, ask questions, and allow this experience to fuel your academic journey. In closing, I would like to once again thank everyone for being here today. I am confident that this public lecture will be an enriching, insightful experience for all. Let us embrace this opportunity to learn, to connect, and collectively advance the cause of health and well-being. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Please, can we appreciate our Deputy Vice Chancellor once again? We are getting into the main agenda for the day. But before then, I want to kindly inform the audience that we're expected to maintain absolute decorum. Put your phones on silence if you can't switch them off. Movement on the central aisle is not allowed. We're expected to listen attentively. At the end of the lecture, there are going to be questions and answers as well. So please, listen with rapt attention. It's on that note that I would like to welcome to the microphone for the citation of the guest speaker, our very own university orator and the Dean of Bayeridawa College of Law, Professor O.G. Izebua. Please put your hands together for him.
Thank you, our very amiable PRO. The Vice Chancellor, sir, ably represented by our Deputy Vice Chancellor, permit me to request our guest lecturer to be upstanding for his citation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, citation on Professor Katibi Ibrahim Adiola, MBBS, MD, FWACP, FACC, Medical Consultant, Department of Medicine, Faculty of Clinical Sciences, College of Health Sciences, Kwara State, University of Ilori. Guest speaker on the occasion of Alayeluwa Oba Akunade Sijuwade Olubusi II, College of Health Sciences, Annual Lecture, Series of Igbinedion University. Holding today, the 30th of April, 2025 at the University Library Complex. Professor Katibi Ibrahim Adiola is a professor of medicine with over 13 years dedicated service as a professor in that regard with the University of Ilori, Kwara State of Nigeria. This cerebral professor with wealth of experience in education and health cases has had the privilege of serving as two-term dean of the Faculty of Clinical Sciences in the University of Ilori, where he's currently a consultant emeritus. This professor of immeasurable quality was born on the 3rd of February 1968 and started his primary school education in Okela Muslim Primary School in Ikare, Akoko, between 1974 and 1980, and passed his primary examination in distinction. From then, it was obvious that a scholar was in the making. He later attended Lennon Jubilee High School, Ikare, Akoko, between 1980 to 1982, and also attended Agolo High School, Ikare, Ondo State, between 1982 and 1985. With a sound school certificate, he proceeded to the famous Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and obtained the MBBS degree in 1991. Professor Katibi, as is often called by friends and associates, obtained a master's in business administration, MBA degree, from the University of Ilori in 1998. He proceeded to Harvard University, Boston, USA, and obtained a certificate in ethical issues in global research in 2012. And further obtained a Doctor of Medicine degree from the University of Glasgow, United Kingdom in 2011. Please, let's applaud him. Professor Katibi is a man who found immense fulfillment in pursuit of knowledge and its application to addressing challenges in health, education, and community development. As an educator, he believed in mentoring talents and fostering an environment conducive for learning and growth. To this end, Professor Katibi has supervised over 22 PhD students to graduation, not to mention the many fellows and others. In the same vein, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Professor Katibi has been awarded many honors, distinction, and is a member of many learned society and professional bodies, among which are, permit me, Mr. Chairman, to highlight, Fellow of the Royal College of Physicians, 2023, research candidate for the post of Vice Chancellor by the Screening Council, Federal University of Technology, Akure, 2022. Fellow, Nigeria Cardiac Society, 2018. Fellow, European Society of Cardiology, 2017. Member, Expert Advisory Board, Cardiovascular Disease, 2016. Member, Hypertension Treatment in Nigeria, Advisory Board, 2019. Member, International Society of Electro. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. He is also a member of the International Society of Electrocardiology, 2015. Fellow, American College of Cardiology, 2011. Fellow of South Africa Research and Ethics Training Initiative, 2011. Commonwealth Fellowship Awardee, University of Glasgow, UK, 2009. Fellowship, International Society of Cardiovascular Disease Epidemiology and Prevention, Oxford, 2008. Member by the Honorary Invitation, American Diabetes Association, 2003. Honorary Clinical Research Fellow, University of Glasgow, 2003. Member, Pan-African Society of Cardiology, 2000. Member, Medical and Dental Consultant Association of Nigeria, 1999. Fellow, West Africa College of Physicians, 1998. Fellow, Associate Fellow, Medical College of Physicians, Nigeria, 1996. Member, Nigeria Cardiac Society, 1996. Outstanding Resident Doctor Award, University of Ilori Hospital, Ilori, 1996. Member, Nigeria Medical Association, 1991. Mr. Chairman, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let's crown it all. Best graduating student, then in Agolo High School, Ikare, Ondo, 1985. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Professor Katibi has over 82 peer-reviewed journals, e-books, technical report, and proceeding in conferences. Permit me, Mr. Chairman, to also mention specifically Professor Katibi's scholarly publication, Discovery and or Invention. 1, first and only artificial intelligence ECG diagnostic software for heart failure in Africa. First and largest electronic database of normal electrocardiograms in any indigenous Black Africa population worldwide. First and only digital center core ECG laboratory in Nigeria, if not the entire Africa continent. Professor Katibi has held several administrative and managerial positions within the university system. He is also a renowned external examiner to several universities in Nigeria and outside the globe. He has attracted various international grants to the admiration of friends and foes. Professor Katibi has attended many trainings and workshops, as well as many local and international conferences. Professor Katibi is married to his better half, Dr. Mrs. Katibi Oludulakbo Sherifat, and the union is blessed with 4 amazing children. Mr. Chairman, sir, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with great delight I invite Professor Katibi Ibrahim Adiola, a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians, fellow Nigeria Cardiac Society, fellow West Africa College of Physicians, fellow European Society of Cardiology, and America College of Cardiology to the podium for his lecture. Thank you.
I was wondering if the Dean of Law was describing another Katibi and not my own Katibi. I wish I'm not the guest speaker, but the chairman of the occasion. I will have stopped him 10 minutes ago. Mr. Vice Chancellor of Igbinedion University, Professor Lawrence Esemoye, who is ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Raphael Igbinosa Agege. All other principal officers of the university here seated. The Provost of the College of Earth Sciences and all other principal officers of the College of Earth Sciences here seated. Professor Dominic Osanyode Osagai. the Chief Medical Director of Okada University Teaching Hospital, distinguished and eminent Emeritus Professor Austin Obasanjo, Professor Austin Obasanjo is the first indigenously trained cardiologist in the whole of Nigeria to be awarded the fellowship of the Medical College of Nigeria in cardiology. All other things here cited, particularly the Dean of Law. Thank you for that beautiful citation. I didn't give it to him. I don't know where he got them from. Other members of Senate of Igbinedion University, heads of departments, my lords, spiritual and temporal, distinguished students of Igbinedion University, particularly students from the College of Earth Sciences, members of the fourth realm of power, the press, members of the telecommunication unit of the university who have been busy since we got here since morning. All other invited eminent personalities, particularly those who could not be with us physically, but are with us virtually and attending this lecture, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I want to start on a lighter note as a way of diffusing tension. I had a cause to be at the villa one day. And after seeing the fellow I wanted to see in the villa, and he was seeing me off, he looked at one of the pictures hanged at the waiting area of his office and pointed his finger at it. He said, "Look at that picture very well. This was some 30 years ago with the person who is now the head of state and commander-in-chief who appointed me to be working in this office that you have come to see me today." Conclusively, he now remarked, "Do everything to keep relationships." Keeping relationship is probably what has brought me to Igbinedion University today for the first time in my life. When Emeritus Professor Austin Obasanjo was the Chief Medical Director of Benin, Professor Dominic Osagai was the National President of the Nigerian Medical Association. And the two of them will always have to be around Lagos because of their offices. I was the National Treasurer of the Nigerian Medical Association when he was the National President. Each time the two of them were in Lagos, there's another tough fellow from Benin, Omo Kodian or something. I don't know if it's the Omo Kodian. He will always, "Oh, be excited. Oh, come, let's have dinner together," and so on and so forth. And Professor Zaga would drag me along, and I would join them for the dinner. And in the process, the three of us became very familiar and so on and so forth, beyond just the field of cardiology. And lo and behold, we are all here today. Do everything, you students in particular, do everything to water and keep relationships that you have built. You never know when you will need them again. Today's topic is titled Man versus Machine. Are computers taking over the doctor's role in heart diagnosis? I recognize the mixed audience and that the fact that the day is already far spent. I've written a lot, about 50 pages here, a copy of which has already been made available to the university through the ICT unit, and the hard copy of which I will also personally deliver to the acting vice chancellor at the end of this lecture. But I will paraphrase so that we don't get bored, and I can also satisfy the mixed audience. It's a different thing if I'm talking to Professor Obasanjo alone, or I'm talking to the Dean of Medicine alone. But when I'm talking to so many people, mixed audience, chances are that if you're getting bored or too technical at some points, and you have to summarize. So the content of today's lecture will be as follows. Introduction, historical perspective, medical diagnosis, electrocardiogram, which we are using to illustrate how computing is taking over the function of man. The role of computing in ECG analysis, specific case studies and scenarios to illustrate this. And in particular, I will be exhibiting or demonstrating to you the first diagnostic software for heart failure from electrocardiogram to be invented from Africa without you having to resort to a cardiologist or a stethoscope before you can say this patient has heart failure using artificial intelligence. I will demonstrate it to you, you will see it. Then are there ethical and practical challenges from this intersection between computing and medical diagnosis? What is the future direction? And then finally, conclusion and then references. Again, I've learned over time that the peak of attention is the first 15 minutes of a delivery. I'm therefore going to give you the summary of the whole paper right away, rather than wait till the end to summarize when half of us might be offline already, if I can use that word. Computing has transformed medical diagnosis, bridging gaps in accessibility, timeliness, precision, and predictive accuracy of healthcare. This lecture delves deeply into the transformative power of computing, focusing on the electrocardiogram as a case study. Electrocardiogram is also referred to as ECG. It begins with a historical overview of medicine and medical diagnosis, and then that of computing, followed by a thorough technical breakdown of ECG's functionality and its pivotal role in cardiology. Using case studies and real-life application, the lecture highlights the integration of artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI, into ECG analysis, particularly in early detection of heart failure and arrhythmias here in Nigeria. The paper subsequently identifies ethical challenges, data privacy, algorithmic biases, and weak internet connectivity, which we have already experienced even while I'm here in Ibn Edion University. as major problems plaguing rapid adoption of machine learning propelled healthcare in Nigeria, a sine qua non for equitable technology deployment nationally. The lecture concludes with bold future directions, such as medical wearable devices, predictive analytics, and global access to advanced diagnostics as possible spin-offs. Certainly, the future of medicine and medical practice can never be the same again. And the author finally throws a poster on the longevity of mankind and what the job description of medical personnel will be like about a decade from now. So for those of you who are going through medical education or medical training now, and for those of us who are still young in the profession, must adapt our knowledge, our practice, our education to be ICT and artificial intelligence compliant, because it is going to change many things in the practice, in the field. Now I go to the introduction. Mr. Chairman, sir, it is both a privilege and honor to address you today on a topic that has revolutionized healthcare delivery worldwide: the application of computing in medical diagnosis. Imagine a world where life-threatening conditions are detected in mere moments, where your smartwatch can notify you of a potential heart attack, or where advanced computer algorithm can predict your risk of cardiac arrest long before you even have any symptom. This is not science fiction, but the reality we live in today. The intersection between computing and medical diagnosis is not only impacting on medical practice, but it is also expected to cause a stir in our medical and educational curriculum over time. Artificial intelligence has already impacted the automobile industry, Tesla cars, mobile telephony world, the tourism hotel industry, the banking world. That's why the banks keep on declaring billions and billions of dollars as profits, because they've imbibed the use of artificial intelligence in the banking sector many, many, many years back. But they won't let you know. Only the top management will know. They know how to focus on important customers and make more profit, and less attention on the less important customers. Advertisement world, you just name it, and the list is endless. I'm even now aware that politicians also now use artificial intelligence to win elections.
Thank you, sir.
Because once they're able to gather
I want to take it.
relevant data, and they have them cumulative enough and big enough, they're able to integrate this data using artificial intelligence. And it will tell you what are the crucial areas local government or wards to focus on, such that when you win in those places, you will have won the election. Or how elections are won in those narrow places. Instead of working for the whole state or for the whole country, you focus on those areas that are determining, just like Michigan in the United States, for those of us who are following United States election, and so on and so forth. The medical world is therefore not going to be spared. And this lecture is meant to lay bare the current state of the art and take a peep into the future.
Just give me a few minutes.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, ladies and gentlemen, you may now switch off all your devices, including your mobile phones, fasten your seatbelts, stow away your tray tables in upright position. And just before I begin to taxi on the tarmac of medical diagnostics and artificial intelligence, permit me to appreciate my brother, my friend, the provost of the College of Earth Sciences, Professor Dominic Osanyade Osaga, for considering me worthy of nomination to the Senate of Igbinedion University to give this lecture today. For those who may not know, Igbinedion University is indeed very lucky to have Professor Dominic Osayande Osagai. He's a man of character, a man of integrity, a man of unassuming means, a man of destiny. If you're not a man of destiny, you wouldn't go through what he went through in training and see end up being the national president of Nigerian Medical Association, and see end up becoming a consultant, as he end up becoming a professor, and see end up becoming the provost of a medical school. For an ordinary person, that challenge was enough to make them to derail completely. But here he is today, having conquered the private medical practice world. He's also now sitting atop of a college of medicine. Let me also say this at this point before I forget. Nigerian Medical Association can never forget the man you have as your provost college of medical science. Some 25, 23 years ago, when Nigerian Medical Association was in fracas, was in disarray as a result of internal misunderstanding, and there were so many factions of the association. This man, a calculated risk taker, traveled the length and breadth of Nigeria to convince people that we need to forget our differences and focus more on what unites us, what binds us, what is common to all of us. And people listened to him. And subsequently, he was elected to be the national president of that Nigerian Medical Association. Having become the national president, the onus also lied on him to heal the wounds. If he had not done that successfully, today, as I speak to you, all doctors that are occupying executive position in Nigeria, except possibly him, they are in Katsina as I speak to you now, because we are one and united. He healed the wounds. Far more importantly, and this will not be said or be remembered easily by people, but only by somebody like me who was there and who saw it all. Because we traveled to these nook and corners of Nigeria together with him. It takes off from Benin here, and take off from Ilorin, and we're going to meet anywhere we're going. Because he's a leader. He didn't used to come alone during this period. He used to come along with a Dr. Osahan Enabulele to each and every one of those meetings across Nigeria. No wonder, therefore, after him, from this same Benin, Edo State, not many states are that lucky, another national president of the Nigerian Medical Association came up from Edo State in the person of Dr. Osahan Enabulele. He mentored him, sometimes even paying for his way. He's that generous. He's a very generous man. And he's a gentleman par excellence. When we were together in the executive, usually I see him last before we go to bed, when we are together at executive meeting. And I see him first in the morning before we go to sit down in the meeting. So I know what I'm talking about. The man he trained, he mentored, Dr. Osahan Enabulele, now rose to become an historic man for Nigeria and for Dr. Osao Enablele went further than him, became the president of the Commonwealth Medical Association, and subsequently the first Nigerian ever from Edo State here, from Benin here, to become the president of the World Medical Association. That is the visionary leadership that you have in the person of Professor Dominic Osayande Osagai. So this lecture is not about Osayande Osagai. So let us forget about that and come to the topic. I will therefore be walking us through the fascinating journey of computing in medical diagnosis, with a special focus on one of the most significant cardiovascular diagnostic armamentariums of our time, the electrocardiogram, the proverbial old Scottish wine. Together, we will explore how computing has transformed ECG technology and application, making medical diagnosis faster, more accurate, more robust, and even more accessible. Locally, here in Ilorin, Nigeria, we have blazed the trail and moved electrocardiogram to yet another level through the application of artificial intelligence to ECG for the diagnosis of heart failure and several other cardiovascular disorders without the need for a stethoscope or a cardiologist. I'm going to demonstrate this to you in the course of this lecture. What exactly is cardiovascular disease? Cardiovascular diseases encompass a range of conditions affecting the heart and blood vessels, posing a significant public health burden globally. They account for approximately 30% of deaths due to non-communicable diseases worldwide, with a staggering 80% of these deaths occurring in low and middle income countries, of which Nigeria is one of them. In Nigeria, the situation is particularly worrisome, with hypertension standing out as the most prevalent, affecting well over 50 million Nigerians. What exactly makes these diseases so deadly? The answer lies in their often silent progression, leading to catastrophic events such as heart attacks, stroke, heart failure, when left undiagnosed or poorly managed. And every patient with hypertension or cardiovascular disease often will require to be evaluated with an ECG. This simple yet powerful test records the heart's electrical activity, offering invaluable insights into rhythm disorders, ischemic heart diseases, and other cardiac abnormalities. Given its indispensable role, millions of ECGs are recorded worldwide every year. However, performing the test is just one piece of the puzzle. The real challenge lies in accurate interpretation. A well-trained cardiologist or physician can decipher ECG patterns to guide treatment. But in many resource-limited settings, there simply aren't enough trained professionals to go around. This is where computing steps in to bridge the gap. Automated ECG interpretation systems have emerged as a crucial solution, leveraging advanced algorithms and intelligence to analyze ECG tracings with impressive accuracy, human error, and increasing diagnostic efficiency. These systems help ensure that more patients receive timely and appropriate care, even in underserved populations. Where we are going eventually from, Ilorin, God willing, is that not only are we going to have the software, which we already have, we are going to have this software developed into an app. And since up to about 100 million Nigerians now carry mobile phones, definitely there's no healthcare provider, be it community health worker, be it a nurse, be it auxiliary nurse, that is not carrying a mobile phone. They can have this app installed on their phone, even as they practice in the most remote part of Okada. When they suspect heart failure or other cardiovascular abnormalities in individuals, we will also design an appropriate technology to record ECG without the necessary gadgets that we use currently. And they can then transfer the recorded ECG onto their phone and use the app to analyze the ECG. The app will then give them a report on the spot. That same report will be transmitted to our central ECG laboratory in Ilorin. That way, we'll check for the accuracy, and then we'll be building up our database, because artificial intelligence interrogations is all about numbers, how big each the data that you have is. So ultimately, we hope to grow and grow. So we're just starting. It's a journey that we are committed to taking to the end. Now, briefly, I won't waste time here. Historical perspective about medical diagnosis. And these have divided into the ancient and the medieval foundations during the Greek era, the Chinese era, the ancient Egyptian herbs, which are still there up to today. I was in Morocco very recently, a couple of 3-4 months back, and I saw of modern shops where herbs were displayed, different types of herbs. Oh, I think these people, they are trying to do everything to conserve their past. And I think we need to look into that area. A lot of herbs are available, but we don't refine them, we don't display them, and sometimes we don't make them available in a form that other parts of the world can come and buy them from us. Certainly, people who are coming from other parts of the world to come and buy herbs from Morocco, because those herbal shops, they're as beautiful, as modern, as a classical pharmaceutical shop that you can walk into in America. From there, I went on to look at the Renaissance and Enlightenment era between 14th and 18th century, during which the germ theory began. From there, I went to the birth of modern medicine with smallpox vaccination discovered in 1796, and then the advances in surgical practice, as was recorded by Joseph Lister in Glasgow, sometime in 1840. By the way, where I obtained my doctorate in medical cardiology, the University of Glasgow, was the same place where Joseph Lister practiced and made all those revolutionary inventions about surgical practices. The building is still there. They refused to demolish it. It's still there, just as ancient as it was looking when Joseph Lister was alive. It's still there. They kept it for monumental purpose. The building is still there. And then I went on to the 20th century, which is the explosion of medical knowledge. Antibiotics were discovered in 1928, particularly penicillin. And then medical imaging came into being. X-rays about 1895, and then CT scan later. Genetics also came sometime in 1953, when the structure of DNA was unraveled and made known to mankind. Earth systems technology started growing, and it is about this era that in Nigeria, we started having institutions like Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, NAFDAC, National Postgraduate Medical College, West African Postgraduate Medical College, and Yaba Vaccine Center. All of them came into existence in the 20th century. And they have all been very, very contributory to the modern practice of medicine. Certainly, we still have a long way to go, because none of them can be compared to the National Institute of Health of the United States or the Food and Drug Administration Control of the United States. Then came the 21st century when we have the era of precision medicine and technological innovations. And that is where we are now. Genomic medicine, the Human Genome Project was completed in 2003 when the structure of the human DNA was completed, and people can now enjoy personalized treatments and targeted therapies. Telemedicine also came about, where we can be here and be reviewing ECGs from any part of Nigeria. We can be here, and if somebody is suspecting malaria in the US, through telemedicine, after doing the stain for malaria parasite, it can display what is on the microscope to us here, for us as experts on malaria, to look at it and advise whether it is malaria parasite or it's not malaria parasite. That's the beauty of telemedicine. Modern medicine has evolved through centuries of progress, driven by advancement in science, technology, and a better understanding of the human body. The 21st century continues to push the boundaries with innovations like genomics, personalized medicine, and artificial intelligence, while still grappling with the challenges of health, equity, and global disease prevention. I have no doubt in my mind that in about a decade from now, the need for a doctor by patients or patients visiting the hospital to access care will be likened to the need for a dedicated personal secretary, a chief executive officer in a modern day business world, where the CEO on his own mobile phone can join any meeting virtually, can book his flights, book his hotel, and take off to anywhere and be in touch with the rest of the world. Virtually anything I want to do on the computer now, I can do it on my mobile phone. That is technology. That's how fast things are moving. And it's the same thing that is going to happen to medical practice because of artificial intelligence. Indeed, some people are already saying that it is possible for you to, it's a care pot, they call it now, to be passed through a crucible, and the crucible will run certain things on you, come to a diagnosis, and give you a prescription without even any doctor intervening between you and the care pot. In the same token, people are also already doing virtual consultations. So technology is blessing the trade. So if you are a medical doctor, you must be thinking, how can you maximize what you are able to do and offer your services to patients that are remote and far away from where you are? What is medical diagnosis in actual fact? Medical diagnosis is the art and science of processing the constellation of symptoms and signs of a patient, laced with appropriate investigations with a view to arriving at a conclusion on the exact illness of the patient. Good history is the cornerstone for accurate clinical diagnosis, but history and physical examination can reliably arrive at accurate diagnosis in up to 70% of the time. Investigations are often still needed to either confirm the diagnosis or determine the causes and complications associated with the diagnosis. Medical diagnosis, therefore, is important in defining what treatment you are going to offer to the patient, what other management modalities the patient will require, what prognosis would the disease have, and how can you prevent subsequent development of the same disease by the individual. You need to establish what the correct diagnosis is. In short, medical diagnosis is therefore a critical process that combines clinical expertise, scientific knowledge, and diagnostic technologies to identify health problems and provide appropriate care to patients. There are 1,001 different investigations in clinical practice. ECG is the cheapest and most readily available cardiovascular investigation. The actual recording is painless and risk-free, but its interpretation requires expertise, which is very much in short supply. You need to be somewhere where even cardiologists, when they are discussing ECG and they think they have gotten it or they have seen it all, and people like Professor Obasanjo will say, no, I disagree with you. It's not what your diagnosis is not the final one. There's still more. again, so computing will eliminate, when you use artificial intelligence and computing, it will eliminate this sort of inter-observer error that is based on how deep the individual experience is. Because the thing with computing is that you can always keep on fine-tuning, and improving on your software until it becomes near perfect. There is one cardiologist in Nigeria, but 500,000 population to serve. In contradistinction to a ratio of 1 to 600 in the United Kingdom. You can then see that we need that software here more than they do in the United Kingdom. But unfortunately, the United Kingdom, the America, they have more of those softwares than we do here. And when they do, they use their own data to design the algorithm for their own population. Later, they will come and market their own devices to us, and it will give us wrong interpretation because we already know that ECGs in Africans is not exactly the same as ECGs in Caucasians. Just like ECGs in Chinese people, ECGs in Indian people, ECGs in Saudi Arabian people, ECGs in Nigerians, ECGs, they are all different. They can have some meeting points, but they are different. And this we have already published, extensively. If you look at the references that I gave at the end of the, I've already compared ECGs between Chinese population and Indian population, and then the British population, and we have documented sharp differences in their ECGs. Unfortunately, just like the iPhones or the telephones we are carrying here, all of these things are designed and formulated from abroad and thrown at us without any respect to our own cultural specificity, to our own needs specificity. And sometimes there is overt wrong diagnosis from the use of these things. And that is why in eLearning today, we're determined to use our own local ECG data to propel and drive the design of our own software so that it becomes indigenous. When it is working for us in Africa, since 1 in every 4 African is a Nigerian, just like 1 in every 4 Egbunidan University students is a College of Health Sciences. 1 in 4, 2 in 5, almost the same. 2 in 4, it's almost like from the College of Health Sciences. 1 in every 4 African is a Nigerian. If it is going to work for Nigeria, it is likely to work for many of the African populations. And when it is already working for the African population, we can actually collaborate with some American or Caucasian companies and see what they can tinker with within our diagnostic algorithm because of peculiarities of their own population, since I've worked with them before, to see what they can tinker with and make the software also to be adaptable to their own population and then applicable worldwide. One thing that we must not lose sight of is this. The software is not only for Nigerians who are living in Okada, who are living in Ilorin, who are living in Lagos. Nigerians now live all over the world because of Japan syndrome. When they develop chest pain in America, in Canada, and they are rushed to the hospital, they will use the software that were designed using Canadian population to evaluate a Nigerian man who is based in Canada. And that will give them wrong diagnosis. And sometimes some of them will die in the process. But if we evolve our own software from our own ECG peculiarities, we're also going to be taking care of our population outside of Nigeria. Virtually all branded ECG machines in the market today with inbuilt facility for automated analysis have software developed using mainly Cochrane-derived normal references and working on the dual methodology of signal processing and application of a classifier program. Certainly, none of them is AI-based now. These machines are imported into Africa. I've spoken about this to save time. Let me move to the next item, which is the birth of computing. Again, I will not waste time here. It's in the main book, it's in the e-copy, and the university already has it, which is just like a historical background to the development of computing as a technology. And I looked at it under the early foundations pre-20th century, when we're using mechanical devices, and then later the electromechanical and vacuum tube machines for computing in 1890. And I also looked at the first generation of computers, the ENIAC and also the UNIVAC. And then the second generation, which is when transistor became available in 1947 and revolutionized computing by replacing vacuum tubes. This allowed early programming languages to be possible. And IBM introduced the 1401, 1959 early computers used for business applications like accounting and payroll processing as far back as that time. Now, I told you the banks have been into this since a long time ago. That's why they always wear better suits than I'm wearing now. And they also ride better cars and enjoy better holidays. The third generation era for computing was the era of integrated circuits and mainframes. We had mainframe here in Nigeria, in ABU Zaria. I don't know if there's anyone in Benin, University of Benin, but there used to be Yabakar Computer Center in Zaria. And that time, the whole university, the whole Ahmadu Bello University, depended on that mainframe computer that was in the Yabakar Computer Center to analyze data, to process things, and so on and so forth. As against what we now do, we are individual students now, can stay in your hostel and process anything that is requiring computing on your own. So that is the evolution. And then the fourth generation, we had the microprocessors and then the personal computers, which is the era that we are in now. And then the fifth generation, we had the internet, the mobile, and then the cloud computing. Cloud computing allows you to put bigger volume of data and also allows you to share data between yourself without necessarily coming together. If we're into cloud computing with the ICT man here today, he could have had my slides, even while I was in learning from the cloud, and then be working on it even before I get here. So computing has come a long way. And now is the era of artificial intelligence and machine learning. The development of AI and machine learning technologies has given computers the ability to learn from data and perform tasks that were once considered uniquely human, such as image recognition, natural language, and then autonomous driving. That's why you have Tesla cars. That's why you have computing now through AI is able to diagnose people with cancers of the breast, people with cancers of the bone, because even CT, for example, using artificial intelligence, is now able to recognize that this is soft tissue, this is pus, this is effusion, and tell you, even without you having to stick in a needle to take a specimen, that this, what you have here is blood, is not serous fluid. What you have here is pus. What you have here is a solid tissue because of artificial intelligence. Now, let us look at electrocardiogram itself before we then go to how there is intersection between artificial intelligence and then electrocardiogram. The electrocardiogram, the first ECG was recorded by Augustus Waller on his dog Jimmy in 1887. Modern ECG was, however, invented by Wilhelm Enthofen in 1903. and marked a significant breakthrough in cardiology. Early ECG machines were cumbersome, relying on string galvanometers and required manual interpretation by physicians. Over the decades, advances, can you show the picture of the early ECG machine? Over the decades, advances in electronics, signal processing, and computing revolutionized the field. That is the tracing of early ECG. But there should be another slide on the picture. That is what an ECG looked like at the beginning. You can imagine, because you want to record ECG, then you have all these gadgets, which is scary even to the patient. Not to talk of people who accompany the patient. But can you move to the next portable one now? What that big gadgets, big edifice was doing is what this simple machine is now doing, which you can keep under your bed or keep under your pillow and bring it out when you need it. And even better still, what this one is doing is what you can now use your Apple Watch to do. You can use your Apple Watch to record your rhythm strip now without you even putting on any electrodes. And better still, you can use your phone to record your ECG and get some basic electrocardiogram. That is what I was explaining to you. We hope to pursue this innovation to the point of having a locally applicable way of recording ECG that will make it accessible to even the Fulani man that is living in the remotest part of Okada. In the remotest part of Okada. And then the community health worker that is there can just swing it onto the app on his phone and then be able to get interpretation without having to look for a cardiologist. The import of what I'm saying is that if a report is returned and it says normal ECG, then the community health worker knows that he does not need to worry. This patient is not suffering from heart-related issue. But if the report that is sent to the phone says heart attack, heart failure, then he knows I have to go to UBTH. I have to send this patient to UBTH. I have to send this patient to Okada Teaching Hospital. And then that way it can save life. What is obtainable currently is that if you have a condition requiring you to do ECG, they just fold their hands. Sometimes they even give medications that can be counterproductive to the cause of the chest pain. And that is what is actually killing the patient, and not even the original chest pain. But if they're able to do this as point of care kind of a thing, then they will know when they get bad signals, and then they have to do something to save the life of the patient. It's just like having a glucometer available at peripheral hospitals. And when they are in dilemma as to is this a diabetic emergency or is not a diabetic emergency. You know how just giving Coke or giving dextrose infusion can be life-saving in patients with hypoglycemia. But you have to confirm before you give. So if you don't have a glucometer that is readily available, it is difficult for you to do. And that is where we are going. In 1960 to 1970s, witnessed the digitalization of ECG signals, thereby enabling better storage, filtering, and analysis. Algorithms were developed for basic interpretation of heart rhythms and arrhythmias. 1980s to 1990s saw improvements in signal processing and machine learning, allowing for more accurate arrhythmia detection. ECG machines became integrated with hospital information systems, enabling streamlined patient care. In Nigeria, we need to get there as well. We need to be awake. So if you have a patient suspected of chest pain in front of you and you are running ECG, you should be able, through the electronic medical records, be able to pull out the ECG that patient did some 5 years or even last year and compare with the current ECG that you have before you and see whether there's a change or a trend or a pattern. That way you'll be able to manage the patient better, whether there is a new onset bundle branch block and so on and so forth, which could be highly suggestive in somebody who is having an acute chest pain. But if you don't have any way of pulling out the old ECG, or maybe if it happened on the Thursday before Easter break, for example, you may have to wait till the next working day, which is Tuesday, when the medical records will come and they go and pull out the folder. Life is already lost. And this is the gap that we seek to bridge by the grace of God. This all provided the needed platform to generate gargantuan quantum of data requisite for mining through AI. Ambulatory devices like Holter monitors allowed for long-term data collection. Outside clinical settings, artificial intelligence was introduced to ECG analysis in 2010. Still very recent, just about in the last decade, with algorithms capable of detecting subtle abnormalities impossible to see by human eye and predicting cardiovascular risks. Next, I was talking about what an ECG is, and then trying to describe the specific component parts of an ECG.
Hello?
Because time
what
is
the
very
drugs
well
with
spent,
the
I will not waste time on that.
2,500, have you?
Yeah. Essentially, we have
Okay.
ICT, man. Are you awake?
Actually,
Go to the graph.
30,000 naira. So, hello?
Yes.
They haven't
We have the
only have
P-wave,
paid the full one. Why then they also know
QRS complex,
worry the hospital.
T-wave. Each of them represent different
Yeah,
aspects
so
of
they go. Now,
contractions
can make
of the
lady
heart.
sick my office area.
And they are supposed to assume a normal morphology and a normal duration. When there are disease conditions, intervals, they become abnormal, the morphology can also become abnormal. It is this alteration in intervals morphologies that we take advantage of in making specific diagnosis. I will not waste our time in going through ECGs beyond that. But I want to draw our attention, I've already said it, but for the sake of emphasis, we have established incontrovertibly that ECGs in Nigerians is different from ECGs in Chinese people, is different from ECGs in the British people, is different from ECGs in the Indians. And so we cannot rely on softwares designed from artificial intelligence based on ECGs of Indians, Chinese, or British people, or American people, and just extrapolate to Africans. We need to evolve our own. Incidentally, just like other high cities, artificial intelligence, you don't need to be physically resident in America or Britain before you can perform or discharge. Just like you don't need to bring an American or Briton here before you can engage his or her services. Through remote networking or cloud computing, a lot can be done without necessarily going to live in America or coming to sit here in Nigeria. And this is one of the fields, ICT is one of the fields where you can stay here in Okada and be making millions of dollars and British pounds. Because once you have the skill of artificial intelligence and you can deliver, people will give you job to do from your bedroom and pay you commensurable for what you are able to deliver. So for younger students who are here, even those in medicine or College of Health Sciences, I urge you to see how you can tactfully take your medicine into ICT part of medicine, because that is a field that you can actually practice from any part of the world. And the current government, they have already promised us that they are going to make major investments in internet access and strength of signals. Believing that, it means you should be able to function from anywhere and make money from artificial intelligence. Generally speaking, Africans tend to generate higher voltages than the British and Chinese people. And so the PRS amplitude is generally is higher. And I'll show you some examples to illustrate. Conversely, the Indians, the Chinese, and the British tend to have longer QT interval and longer PR interval than we, the Africans. And that is illustrated on this, even KRS duration tends to be longer in them than it is in Nigerians. That is illustrated in this in the diagrammatic picture on the screen there.
Okay.
Move on.
Nothing we're not like it, just the voice and that.
Now let us now go to examples of some leading commercial ECG analysis programs that are available already. This will include such ones as the GE Healthcare, Cardiosoft, Mark 2000, Philips, IntelliSpace,
Please say one go.
Alive Core, Carrier Mobile, Biotelemetry, MCOT. Medtronic also has Link. And then we have the CardioServer ECG. CardioServer allows multiple users to dump ECG data onto the server, and this can be interrogated by anybody who is on the network. And then finally is the University of Glasgow computer analysis program for the ECG, which is where I trained, and they have almost 40 years of experience on computing analysis of the EKG. They started very early. The first and the largest electronic database in Africa was done by us, and it's still the largest up to today. And what I'm going to be displaying to you later today is a product of interrogation of that, plus some other Angola ECGs, which is also Africa, that we got.
Fast go really speak for itself.
Totaling
Oh,
more than 10,000.
Now this
Personally, I'm not aware of any other center in Nigeria having electronic database of this magnitude, of this size.
In the office.
And the software we are going to be displaying today too is also the first. There could be a number 1 or 2 from other parts of the world, but this is the first one from Africa.
In the office.
So now this man, on account of this man.
Yes.
Move on. Let us do a bit of practical demonstration so that people can be confirmed to be online. Because even when I was saying things that I expect a bit of applause, nobody applauded. When I was saying things that should have aroused some, nobody did anything. So it's possible that maybe I'm beginning to lose the audience. So let us go to practical skill now. Now, this is a demonstration of the software. Can everybody see it? Can you go back to the new? If you go to the extreme right, you will see new. Why is your not okay? New. All right. Now, can you click on the upload ECG button, the blue one, on top of your cursor? Pick one of the heart failure ECGs so that they can see. Let us start with the heart failure. They can see. Okay, and then run the analysis. What I've done is to use different examples of ECG to show you that depending the diagnosis, the appearance from the software will be different. And this is done, this is automated, fully automated. The software is running. Can you make it bigger so that we can see it? Okay, the software has run the analysis now.
You understand? But for Monday,
He said it is abnormal. Go up. He said there is no left ventricular hypertrophy is present. Continue. He said there is possible abnormalities, heart failure, 99.94% accuracy. That is even more than the accuracy of a cardiologist. That is 99.4%. It's more than the accuracy of an echocardiogram.
See.
And then he said there is no sinus arrhythmia, there is no sinus tachycardia, there is no chances of the leftward axis being there is just 12.4%. And then left atrial abnormality, the chance is just 8.24%.
Nothing like gossip because
but he said there are others. What we did was to
and be talking stories now.
Have three different models,
You don't understand what I mean?
diagnostic models,
Is this case or that?
three different diagnostic
Nah.
software
That was it. Everything was stable there for Ghana.
as a
Because
result
But
of feeling the need to move to the next level. Our initial preoccupation was to recognize heart failure without having to look for a cardiologist, without even having to carry a stethoscope. So when we now established that, then I challenged my team.
and
said, There are probably about 80 million patients with heart failure in the whole world. Maybe in Nigeria,
No,
maybe
but
less
I
than
told
2
you.
million or 1 million. But there are up to 60 million Nigerians who are hypertensive, and we also need to be running ECGs on them. Are we not going to be losing majority of population if we limit ourselves to just heart failure? Why don't you let us build another model that can recognize other ECG abnormalities, make other diagnoses? And that was how we now have three models, but the three of them are now linked. In other words, when you run the ECG of a new patient through what we have now, it will go through that model for heart failure. It will go through another model for another set of cardiovascular abnormalities and go through the third model. And then the result that you have here finally is three models screening for, let's say, about 10, 12 different cardiovascular abnormalities. Because Prof, Emeritus Professor Obasanjo bailed me out here. ECG abnormalities are quite extensive. They are certainly, they can be less than 40, 50 different ECG abnormalities. And if you talk about cardiovascular abnormalities, they're also very extensive. And for those of my colleagues who are from computing or engineering, you will know that as you try to use artificial intelligence to diagnose too many things, it becomes less reliable, less specific. And so we are constrained by this fear of not jeopardizing the sensitivity and specificity of the software. And then because of that, we don't want to diagnose too many things at the same time. We want to take one step at a time, and hopefully we'll catch all of them. Because in fact, the way we are looking at it now is that even not those who are hypertensive, as you are here now, normal persons, you also want to know that my heart is normal. And so if we're able to do any software that will allow you to check your heart and tell you that your heart is normal, you'll be happy. And you know that you don't need to go to any hospital to go and see a doctor except you have other problems. So we are looking even beyond those people with...
So you just said that they will be to be patient.
Let us now go to another one. Go to Neil again. Pick from the stroke ECG.
Yes.
That will tell you that it is discriminatory. Because with the stroke ECG, I don't expect the percentage for heart failure to be as 99 point something that you have seen here. Pick one from the stroke, anyone from the stroke ECG, and run the software.
Hello?
You see what it will return. A stroke patient can have some ECG abnormalities.
Right,
certainly, straightforward stroke patient is unlikely to have heart failure. And so you will see that heart failure is not likely to be highlighted strongly here because it's a stroke patient. We're just trying to see whether is our software, is it selective or is it specific to what is diagnosing? Yes. You can see heart failure, classically, he said not present. This is what you will have been running around to look for. Professor Emeritus Austin Obasanjo. Where are you, sir? Hey, I mean, I traveled to Abuja. We have a meeting. Can we wait for you, sir? No, you just connect your ECG to your mobile phone, and it will tell you that you don't have heart failure. That the person you probably need to see is the nephrologist. That's where you should go, not that you should be looking for a cardiologist. It will answer you on the spot. But even though this fellow does not have heart failure, does he have other things? Sinus arrhythmia is not present. Left ventricular hypertrophy is not present. Sinus tachycardia is not present. Left atrial abnormality is not present. Left axis is not there. But there are others.
So that's not
they are not big enough for us to list them out the way we have listed these other ones out. Those others are there. Those others will now be itemized in the back end of the software, which the person who is, which we, the engineers, I've literally become an engineer now, moving from cardiology to computing and then becoming an engineer. That we, the engineers, will now see at the back end and then be able to relay it back to the patient or the referrer through SMS or through automated messaging and so on and so forth.
That's what they support us.
At least you are awake. Thank God you are awake.
I want to change this.
I'll come to Benin again. If you didn't clap this time, I would not have come to Benin again.
Yes, nobody is there.
Confirmation
Yes,
that you are awake.
people will
Thank you
do,
very much.
things that will make
Can
you.
we just demonstrate one more by picking randomly anyone from the 2025 new ECGs to see whether we will see anything
For you
different
to
from these two
be able
that
to
are
live with it,
displayed?
you have to.
The user, the individual user can also print. I will show you how you can
Excellent.
download the result and print and keep. The next phase of this work now is for us to design a randomized trial using our string of cardiologists across the country to see how this software compares favorably with the ingenuity of a cardiologist.
No, I know that. I know. But I'll just probably
through a randomized trial. That is the next phase.
I was just thinking that because I was just thinking that
we're looking for fund. When we get it, we may come back to Benin and engage some people in Benin here. Because Professor Austin Obasanjo, I remember when he visited our laboratory in Ilorin, he emphasized that we should also come to Benin, that Benin will be interested in participating. Sir, I'm happy that I didn't disappoint you. I've been able to show something out of what you saw in Ilorin when you visited Ilorin almost 4 or 5 years back. It's not an easy task. We've been on this for quite a long time. This is another one. You can see. Well, heart failure is also present here, but you can see the percentage is different from the last one. Like I said, there are new ECGs we have just recorded. I don't know what diagnosis it is, but there are new ECGs. So indeed, that patient may have heart failure. And then left atrial is not there. Left ward axis is just 12.7%. For you to attach importance to any diagnosis there, you expect figures above 70 something. But this 12 point something is not reliable. And then no LVH, no sinus arrhythmia, and then no sinus tachycardia. Can you go further down and show where you can download the report, and then you can, if you so wish, you can print. And then even the user can make comments on the report. So if he has any comment, whether he agrees with the software or something has been missing, he can also comment back end. So you can download the result, download it. And when you download it, you can decide to print it and keep it in the patient's file, or you can keep it in the patient's electronic medical records. The essence of doing this all over the country is that with time, we shall be able to have accumulation of substantial amount of ECG data from all over the country. And what we are able to do will have increased so astronomically. I've also written here the methodology of how we started this and how we have gone about it and where we are. But I've already summarized all of this to you in the last couple of minutes. To save time, I will not go through that. A copy of the book will be made available to the university, and the e-copy is already with the university through the ICT officer there. Now, let us now look at the future of ECG and computing in medicine. Where we think we should be going is that when the cardiologist looks at the ECG today, it's able to make a diagnosis. The available diagnostic software that are not AI based with a diagnosis. But artificial intelligence, far beyond all these other computing modalities and far beyond what the human power can do, is able to look at micro patterns in a data and be able to look at ECGs of patients who are likely to come down with heart failure as a result of hypertension. Let's say 10, 20 years, even before they become hypertensive, let alone developing heart failure. In other words, with artificial intelligence, it should be possible for us to analyze ECGs, predictive analytics now, of analyze ECGs of individuals like you are in this hall now, and identify a pattern that is consistent with later onward development of heart failure, or later onward development of hypertension, or later onward development of acute ischemic heart disease or heart attack. If you are able to recognize those ones 10, 15, 20 years ahead of the time, it means you can be more intensive in minimizing those risks that the individual has, or be more intensive in managing the risk factors that the individual has. And perhaps that individual may never go on to develop heart failure or chronic kidney disease or stroke or heart attack. I don't know if I'm communicating. Because artificial intelligence is capable of recognizing subtle patterns that human eye cannot see. Even the ECG will look apparently normal to the human eye. The ECG may even look apparently normal to the modern day branded ECG machines. But artificial intelligence can recognize subtle changes, subtle patterns, and tell you that this pattern is predictive of long-term development of Brugada syndrome, of long-term development of cardiomyopathy. And then the doctor would then know that this sort of patients should be followed up more intensively and ECG. Just like now we're taking blood sugar without needle prick for diabetic patients through the use of what they wear around their arm. You take the blood, you get the blood sugar on the phone without them having to experience a needle prick. There is going to be a smart clothing, which once it is worn, it will allow the ECG to be recorded and displayed on the phone. And such an ECG can be analyzed using our app. It will come to Nigeria. I don't think iPhone 17 is out yet. Is it out? But I know I use iPhone 16 now. So iPhone 17, if it comes to Nigeria, within 6 months, you will see it all over the place in Nigeria. When smart clothing, when it begins to arrive, when it is being used anywhere to record ECG, we also have patients wearing it. And with time, as we know it, the price will come down. And then everybody can afford it. Now, it is also possible to have implantable devices in patients having chronic cardiovascular conditions that will allow them to move about, carrying about their businesses anywhere they are. And the nurse is seated in the central ECG room, monitoring the electrical activity in the heart of that individual who is on the farm, working in his farm, or in his office, working as a banker. Because it is possible to implant certain things in them that will allow signals to be processed and transferred, electronically onto the central ECG database, even transferred onto their own wristwatch for them to sense that there's a problem and then call for help or leave the farm, leave the office and go to the hospital. We are going to get there. When all of these things, when they happen, we're certainly sure that medicine will be better and many more lives will be saved and prognosis will be a lot better than it is. Ethical challenges is the last part of this, this book that I want to talk about. And then finally will be the conclusion. The challenge with artificial intelligence and ECG interpretation is that when you apply artificial intelligence to analyze ECGs, who is going to sign off the report? Is it the machine or the cardiologist? But the work was done by artificial intelligence, not by the cardiologist. Who is going to sign it off? It's still a dicey area. And that is why we don't think artificial intelligence will completely replace the cardiologist, because I don't think the law courts will agree to artificial intelligence signing off reports on the patient and then taking decisions based on the reports signed by artificial intelligence. So there will still be a need for human cardiologists to oversee and override and supervise and superintend over what artificial intelligence has done. It will only make it faster. And where the cardiologist will have spent, let's say, 10, 15 minutes, because it's been done by AI, it may not just spend 30 seconds, 1 minute, and then say it's okay, and approve of it. Number two, because huge data is involved, how do you secure confidentiality? You can see some of the examples I'm using here now. Sometimes it's difficult for you to completely remove the nomenclature of the patient. And for big data analytics, for machine learning, you cannot achieve much if there's no collaboration between different centers of the world to share data. So when you share data with other centers of the world, what about privacy of patients? What about confidentiality of patients? Yes, you are doing it for common good. You are doing it for public good. But the patients have to be protected. So there's still a lacuna there. But I hope with time, each and every one of these will be addressed. And in conclusion, therefore, predictive analytics in ECG-powered AI is a beacon of hope in modern medicine. By identifying risks before they manifest, these technologies not only save lives, but also reduce the burden on healthcare system. As AI continues to evolve, the dream of a world where heart disease is prevented rather than treated, I repeat, the dream of a world where heart disease is prevented rather than treated feels increasingly within reach. I urge you all to embrace the possibilities that computing offers. Whether you are a clinician, a scientist, an educationist, an administrator, a banker, a businessman, or a woman, a farmer, or a layperson, or even a politician, you have a role to play in shaping the future of mankind and living, just like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs have done. Steve Jobs is behind the iPhone that we all carry today. Elon Musk is behind the Tesla cars. And he's also doing wonders on smart homes to make houses affordable to all. With time, all these things will become cheaper. It's just like MTN subscription when it first came. And one of those who pay 50,000 naira for a SIM card. Today, a SIM card is free. Don't pay a couple to get a SIM card. It's free now. I paid 50,000 naira when MTN first came. Challenges such as algorithmic bias, data security, and equitable access must be addressed to fully realize the potential of these technologies. As innovation continues, the promise of personalized proactive and universally accessible healthcare becomes ever more attainable. Okada Medical Center, Mr. CMD, sir. Okada Medical Center can be the African trailblazer in this regard and tap into the over $2 billion annual medical tourism market from Nigeria alone. I thank you very much for your attention.
Please, our guest speaker deserves a thunderous round of applause from us all, please. Thank you very much. You may now be seated. I'll now invite Mr. Chairman to kindly oversee the question and answer session. Thank you.
You will agree with me that this was a fantastic lecture. Though to some of us, it became very technical, but we learned a lot from it. And I would also want us to give him another round of applause. A standing ovation, if need be, a standing ovation for him, please. Thank you very much. We are at the question and answer section now. We are going to, we take 2 questions from this side, 2 questions from this side. Then, yeah, manage the situation now.
Thank you very much, Professor Katibi. I'm Eboreme Oike. I'm a physician, nephrologist, not neurologist. Thank you very much for this very highly technical lecture on ECG. I hope that we all, I benefited a lot from it. Yes. I was just wondering, sir, with the number of cardiologists, ratio of cardiologists to the population in Nigeria, one in, you said, 450,000. How will the interpretation of ECG help the patient? Because they will not be taking any action. For instance, non-cardiologists or non-medical doctors, they find out that, oh, this person has ECG findings suggestive of, say, acute coronary syndrome, for instance. The ECG interpretation says they need immediate action. How many cath labs do we have here? And in fact, how many people can afford it? Even transport to a cath lab enabled center facility. So I'm just wondering things that we need to do before this software becomes useful, relevant to the population. That's number one. Compared the ECG amongst Nigerians with Chinese, Indians, and the British in the United Kingdom. I know because I have lived in East Africa, I know we're quite different. The incidences of and prevalence of some diseases, including cardiovascular disease, are actually quite different. So why don't you do some comparison between West Africans? And in fact, it's not a homogeneous society by any chance, not even in Nigeria. But first, could you do a comparison between ECG tracings amongst West Africans compared to possibly East Africans, and in fact, all of the regions in Africa? Yes, before, in fact, we move on. So thank you very much again. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Damian Bayebu. I'm the Professor of Business Management in the College of Business and Management Studies. My questions are two. Question number one, sir. What is the Nigerian Medical Association doing to stop the Japa syndrome, which you mentioned about, so that when the likes of Professor Dominic leave the scene, we shall have people to take care of us? I shed tears a few months ago when I went to the teaching hospital here and heard that three young doctors had left the teaching hospital, 2 for Canada, 1 for Saudi Arabia. Question number 2, why can't we have at least one internationally recognized hospital here in Nigeria so that our presidents will stop migrating abroad for medical services? So that we too can benefit. A few years ago, my first son had a medical condition I was told required nucleic medicine, something like that. I was told to take my son to Germany. If I could not afford to go to Germany, I could go to Yaoundé Hospital in the Cameroons or Kolebu Teaching Hospital in Ghana. I went to Ghana and you could see the pride when I was being introduced, when the doctors were introducing me to their colleagues as a Nigerian who came all the way from Nigeria because there was no hospital in Nigeria to take care of his son. Thank you.
Please, 2 more questions.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for your presentation. My name is Josiah Rebecca. I'm a 5th-year medical student at the Fesue constituency. I have 2 questions. First is, could reliance on artificial intelligence lead to a decline in core clinical skills like ECG interpretation, which is now creating the skilled medical doctors that don't know the principal interpretation due to AI interpreting it? Also, can AI training be integrated into medical education to prepare future doctors and support on the staff healthcare system? Most students just use AI and ChatGPT like Google. They don't go like they are open source AI that they can use to develop apps without knowing how to code, but they don't know this because they just usually use it to just ask questions. If AI system can be integrated into medical education, it will help helping us to go with the trend. Thank you, sir.
One final question, possibly from a male student.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ebonwe Valerie. My question is, according to what we've seen from what he has developed, and he said that he's trying to make for you to know your ECG, so that you know your ECG. If you use the thing that he has developed, how is a regular person going to interpret what they wrote there? Like, if you're not a medical student, or if you're not in the medical field, I doubt anybody knows the meaning of sinus arrhythmias or sinus tachycardia.
Thank you very much, the lecturer. You have mentioned cardiology. Sorry, my name is Adefisayo Awe, a horizontal laparoscopic surgeon. Incidentally, one of my colleagues on the high table is also a laparoscopic surgeon. But you didn't mention how this compares with laparoscopic surgery, because we have a problem that laparoscopic surgery started with gallbladder and so on, but now virtually everything is done laparoscopically. If you are saying that ECG will take over, what will happen to general surgery, especially we people in the old regime,
When they are going out.
that virtually everything we were doing those days has been taken over by laparoscopic surgery. Colon, gallbladder, call it whatever, spleen, even solid organs, you crush it. So is there a way to compare that they will not push the old people out of business? Because with the Japa syndrome, they will run after us if they know that you are a laparoscopic surgeon, whether in Saudi Arabia or Britain or US or whatever. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I think that's the end.
The Vice Chancellor and most distinguished senior and contemporary colleagues and our students. It would be difficult to talk about ECG and there is a surgeon without speaking. I could remember when we were medical students and as residents, the physicians would mock the surgeons and said, do you know what is double-blind study? And whatever you answer, they will say is a pathologist and a surgeon looking at a ECG. So today you have demystified this very complex academic and professional tool to the extent that I'm feeling I would have become a physician. But I have this consolation that a physician is a surgeon who practices surgery. So I think I don't have a problem with that. But what I want our students to take home is this is a major journey. The way we had forgotten about, or we had made four-figure table to become historic, is the way most surgical tools would become historic. And you have to follow with the trend. I am very happy with one of the students. She is calling on our provost indirectly to consider curriculum revisit, because we have to make our students become international and take advantage of all these AI tools. Prof, thank you for your research. And I'm happy it is very indigenous with international perspective. And I'm sure many people would join. We at Ebenidion University Teaching Hospital, we have launched our EMR and would be glad to be sending some of our data, you understand, freely to you for collaboration. Thank you so much.
The last question here, please.
Thank you, our guest lecturer. You made it so simple for us, even for that are not in sciences. We thank you so much. But there's one disturbing something you said, if I got it correctly. You said Nigerian diagnosis, American diagnosis, they differ. But I don't know, we travel all the way from here to America when we are sick, and the ECG diagnoses are done there, and then we get treated. So I don't know how it differs. Thank you.
Yes, one of them.
On the same page, you see it. When I wrote it, No, let me stand. I'm still a very young man. I still have a long way to go. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir. Very respected and senior professors and emeritus professors, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy that I didn't speak to myself only. With the area of questions and comments, I think I've aroused some curiosity. And that is the essence of the discourse of this nature. I will not take the answers in any particular order, but I will touch on each and every question requiring an answer. Some of them are like comments, and they are taken note of. On the issue of laparoscopic surgeons, I think my brother CMD already attempted to answer that question. Not only laparoscopic, we're now in the era of robotic surgery. I'll give you a practical example. If a patient is traveling from Benin to Okada a student is traveling from Benin to Okada, or the relation is traveling from Benin to Okada, and he had an accident and sustained multiple injuries. Let's say multiple fractures requiring having to drill the fractured bone and maybe several nails and several it is in the theater. Instead of the elderly surgeon or even the young man surgeon drilling in different nails, he's sweating, he's tired. But then he's done with the third one or the fourth one, he's not doing the fifth, the sixth as excellently like he started with the first, the second, because it's the same process that is just mechanically repeating. The only thing that is different is that he's using his brain to know where to apply. But having determined this is where I want to put the nail or the drill, it's just the same thing. Why can't you ask a robot to apply the subsequent 8 or 10 of those drills for you? Robots don't get tired. Robots will do exactly what you have told the robot to do. And when the robot is done doing it, you take the X-ray or take the whatever in the theater and confirm that it is in place. So why would you not want robots to do things that are just mechanical, not necessarily intellectual? It makes the job more efficient. It conserves your energy. Your pounded yam that you ate before leaving the house in the morning can take you longer till 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Not that I know of a surgeon when I was in Ilorin. Any day he's going to the theater, he must have pounded yam because he does not know when he's coming back. Because he has to do everything himself. You may know Professor Delawa. He has to do everything himself. But robots can do the same now. You just need to press button and say, do this for all the 8 spaces. Calculate it and it will be done. That is one. 2, look at the waiting time that our patients are going through when they have fracture or prostate and they have to be operated. Because the same surgeon, the same urologist there's a limit to what number he can do. But if it's robots, the robot can do it overnight. Yes, minimal staff need to be around and the robot can work all through the night. Robot doesn't get tired. Why we have not moved to that level in Nigeria is because it's expensive. And then the supporting facilities is also not cheap. But in economies or in clients where they can afford all of these jobs are better given to robots to do rather than human doing the same thing over and over and over. It's just like saying, sweep your house or you hoover your house. Would you rather use hoover to clean the house or you want to carry broom and be sweeping it yourself? sweep your rug yourself. Hoover is more effective. You don't sweat too much when you hoover it. That's just the practical illustration. Yes, it's true. What we have on the software that is displayed now may not be thoroughly understood by the layman yet. You're right, because it is still work in evolution. As I speak to you, up till 4 a.m. this morning, we're still working on the software. Before coming to give this lecture, is work in evolution. We are aware of all this, but that cannot be our priority concern for now. Our priority concern is to convince ourselves it is useful. Next phase is now the marketing phase. You want to present it in a way that the ordinary user can also understand it, and therefore will engender their embracing it and using it. If it is not user-friendly, they will not buy into it. So we're aware of that. Regarding medical students losing knowledge of ECG or other medical things because AI is appearing to be doing everything. Well, medical students will still need to understand the basics of it. Even if AI is going to interpret it for you, you still need to understand the basics of ECG. You still need to understand when they say there's left atrial enlargement, what does it mean? What diseases can cause left atrial enlargement? In what diseases would you not expect left atrial enlargement? So how do you diagnose? What are the things that could be normal in the waveform that is making the AI to suspect left atrial enlargement? AI or robotic surgery is not acquiring basic knowledge from the medical students. The team must go ahead and acquire the basic knowledge. It is when you have the basic that you can understand the applied, and then you can even grasp it applied faster and better. And regarding medical curriculum change vis-a-vis artificial intelligence in the learning, we now have a topic every year for every level, for every medical group of medical students. Before they graduate, we introduce them to artificial intelligence, just like we introduce them to ethics. So artificial intelligence, computing in medicine, information management system, they are all component parts of the medicine curriculum. And I think the College of Health Sciences here should do the same. And the NUC is also saying the same thing. You know, they are doing this, their curricular review at NUC level, which they have started over 2-3 years now. So they are also saying the same thing. So any medical school that is not talking about artificial intelligence to the students now, you need to review the curriculum and get them introduced. In any case, there is artificial intelligence in our day-to-day life. As you use your phone, have you observed there are some websites you are not opening, but they just open themselves? There are certain things you are not the one that is typing that I want to see this. When you just unlock your phone, those things are flashed at you because there is a kind of artificial memory on your phone installed by the maker of the phone to sort of know your preferences, know what you have been working on, you have been talking about. Could even be by way of communication, could be by way of messaging. They still into what you are doing, and then they now start pushing things that are related to what you are doing. This is not the one I wanted you to show. It's a raw ECG, not this one. Raw ECG. Keep moving, you will see it. Raw ECG. Keep moving, still further down. Then on the issue of the man who visited another African country looking for medical care. Yes, I agree with you, it is shameful. And they rub it on us when we go to such places to go and seek medical care. And I agree with you, it is high time in Nigeria that we also have a dedicated center that can handle some of these problems. We have the manpower. We have the technical know-how. What is lacking most of the time is infrastructure and then systems for those things to work. I know that when, yes, keep moving, you're almost there. No, it's the main lecture, not the slides. These are the slides. You will see it in the main lecture, the main lecture, the main paper, which you're not using at all. Yes, when Okada Teaching Hospital was started, that was the concept, to be like an African referral center, private referral center that will attract patients from all over Africa. And people can come from all over Africa and receive medical treatment here. And it is still possible. If you listen to my conclusion, it is still possible. It is still possible to go back to that. When the National Hospital was conceived, that was the idea, to be like a referral center for all the teaching hospitals in Nigeria. But when it came to implementation, people started bringing every leg, every head into National Hospital. And then before you know it, even local teaching hospitals are better than the National Hospital. The superior minds are in the teaching hospital rather than at the National Hospital, because things became politicized. I must confess, we are still suffering from that up to now. I know there are 1 or 2 private hospitals trying to do something, but it's still not there yet. They're just struggling, but it's still not there yet. We need to have, and people will pay. My experience is that in medicine, once people can get the kind of service that they want, they will rather stay here and have it treated. But it is their experience that is making them to believe that I don't want to go to that place. I'd rather go and do it abroad. And you know, UK, US, Canada now, they're all just 1 flight away. Before you know it, the following morning, you are in that country. If you have an existing visa, and they can go and get it done and come back. But we need to develop our own healthcare system. And I know for sure, as a fact, yes, stay on that page, come down slightly. Can you magnify that black one? Can you make it bigger so that everybody can see it? That more than $2 billion, not naira, more than $2 billion is spent annually on medical tourism from Nigeria. So even if dollars, yes, more than $2 billion annually is spent on medical tourism from Nigeria. So if somebody can invest heavily in that and get even a quarter of that out of it, you are already super rich. In the same token, universities, until recently, if you know how much money we're spending from Nigeria for university education abroad, thank God, institutions like Igbinidon University, had the dream 25 years, 26 years ago, and the dream is still there up to now. But we've been wasting money a lot, spending money on tuition fees. Universities in the UK, they are groaning now because Nigerians cannot afford to pay at the current exchange rate of 1 to almost 2,100, 2,200, £1 to 2,100, 2,200 naira. One pound is now 2,200 naira. So many parents cannot afford to buy that again. And so they're now looking inward. Japan syndrome would continue. In labor, there's always the pull and the push factor. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's a universal concept. Even in the UK, many doctors are leaving and moving to Canada, moving to America, to Australia, where they think they are taxed less, they do less work, and they enjoy better working conditions. So it's a universal thing. People won't see any need for them to confine themselves to a particular place if they don't get fulfillment of job satisfaction. It's not all about salary. It's not all about salary. But equally important is security of life, education of your children, access to quality food, peace of mind, access to infrastructure to work with, assured opportunity for career progression, and then equity where you work. Equity. Not everything is by man. You don't know somebody, you don't get anything. So once all those things are not guaranteed, people will always move. But it's a dynamic thing. They are moving to the time it was when people were moving to Saudi Arabia. Later, they came back to Nigeria.
And then now people are moving out again to Saudi Arabia. They will come back again. But when it is time to come back, that is reverse Japan. If Nigeria does not prepare, we will lose them very shortly thereafter. It's a universal phenomenon. Yes, we have done comparative African ECG between Angola. I told you we have 2,500 ECGs from Angola. I didn't prepare a slide specifically on that, but we saw differences between Angolan population and even Nigerian population. Yes, but we have done comparative illustration or comparative study between Angolan population. But don't forget, Angola is not West Africa. I want to believe that for West African countries, because of the somewhat homogeneity, I don't expect sharp differences between ECGs in West African countries. But Professor Watson is better traveled than I am. I haven't been to half of the West African countries. I don't expect sharp differences within West Africa. But East Africans, yes. Southern Africans, yes. But some actually look more like Arabs rather than even Africans, like Northern Africans. So there could be some differences. So I agree with you that we need to be doing comparative study even within the African continent. And the one we have done so far between Angola, where we have 2,500 database, and then Nigerian, yes, there are remarkable differences. There are remarkable differences. And then access to health care, access to cardiologists. Yes, access to cardiologists in Nigeria will continue to be a problem. The few that we have, they're also living. Japan, they're living. Only 2 months ago, I lost another young consultant for the UK. They're living. Of the almost 22 that have participated in training in Ilorin to become a cardiologist, I don't think up to 7 of them are still working in Nigeria. The remaining have left to other parts of the world to go and practice. So it is a problem. And that is why we need to use technology to bridge the gap. Since up to 100 million Nigerians are on handheld devices or mobile phones, let us design something that can be built onto a phone, and no matter how remote you are, we then depend less on cardiologists to make some of these cardiovascular diagnoses. Technology is meant to bridge the gap for deficiency in human manpower needs. So if we can increase the pace of working along that line, and we're able to strengthen the system that will allow for network transmission, signal transmission, and all of that, there will be less need for physical cardiologists, and then technology can bridge the gap and we can move on. Yes, it is possible that a Nigerian is sick and they use machines calibrated using Caucasian normal references, and to give a wrong diagnosis or a wrong result. This patient that you see on the screen, I saw her only 2 weeks ago in Ilorin, and I found it very interesting. That's why I decided to add it to this presentation. Look at normal ECG, why the cursor, everybody can see normal ECG, why the cursor is now. The machine has calibrated based on Caucasian normal references, has returned the tracing of this my patient, who is a non-hypertensive heart disease, who had suffered 2 episodes of near fatal pulmonary embolism as a result of arrhythmias from long-standing hypertensive heart disease, almost 85 or thereabout in years. But she's still calm and beautiful. When I looked at the ECG as an African or as a Nigerian cardiologist, and I'm happy Emeritus Professor Austin Obasanjo is here. If you look at the heart wave in V5, in V6, it is taller slightly than the heart wave in V5. Similarly, the margin is no more than 2 or 3 small squares, but it is still taller. The V6, heart in V6 is taller. And if you look at lead one, can you move it more to this side? Lead one, if you look at lead one, the R wave in lead one is more than 12 millimeter. When you have these two conditions met, the way they taught us, because they examined and taught us, it is suggestive of left ventricular hypertrophy in a Nigerian ECG. But the Caucasian machine cannot pick that because they were not trained, or they didn't recognize that as a factor that can cause or can be strong enough for you to diagnose left ventricular hypertrophy. So they will skip it. And if it is something else, that's the way they will skip it. And that patient will be pronounced as normal. But indeed, this patient is not normal. And I used my barrow to now write, this is left ventricular hypertrophy, and this is consistent with hypertensive heart disease. Indeed, we have done echo in this woman, and consistently she has always had left ventricular hypertrophy. This is a beautiful illustration of how you cannot just take everything, hook, line, and sinker from abroad and start using it here in Nigeria. We must evolve our own. We must indigenize our own innovation so that it can address our own population. Now, our population now resides in all parts of the world now. So whatever it is that we are coming up with will be marketable beyond the shore of Nigeria, but also in Europe, in America, in Australia, in Canada, because it may be their laparoscopic surgeon there and they don't want him to die. So it will be useful. They will be interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you once more, our very distinguished guest speaker, for that very insightful response to the questions. We have come to a very important part of this particular event, which is the presentation of plaque by the Vice Chancellor to our esteemed guest speaker in appreciation of the lecture he has delivered here today. Please, can we put our hands together as that happens? He's also going to receive a souvenir from the chairman, so he can take a piece of IUO with him as he travels back to Kwara State. Please, can we applaud him again? Thank you very much. We are gradually winding down. I've been asked to inform all the students here seated by the Provost, College of Health Sciences, that you should kindly remain seated at the end of the event. Refreshments have been made available for you, and at the point of exiting the hall, you'll be handed your refreshment. Please, can we appreciate the Provost for that particular gesture? It's on that note that I would like to invite the Registrar and Secretary to the Governing Council, Friday Benji Bakare Esquire, to give the vote of thanks. Thank you.
The Vice Chancellor, Professor Lawrence Ikechukwu Ezemonye, PhD, FAS, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Ralph Adege, very distinguished guest speaker, Professor Ibrahim Adeola Katibi, very distinguished audience. It is with immense pleasure and gratitude to God that I stand before you this afternoon to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the Vice Chancellor and indeed the entire university community for this insightful and timely public lecture delivered by no less a personality than our erudite scholar of no mean repute, Professor Ibrahim Adeola Katibi. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your profound expertise on the pertinent and evolving topic man versus machine. Are computers taking over the doctor's role in heart diagnosis? What I could pick, and I'm sure that is reassuring to all of us, is that we are not losing our jobs. The machines are not taking over. Instead, they have come to aid us. So thank you for that reassurance, Prof. Now, I'm particularly excited when he said that politicians are using AI to win elections. I'm interested in that one. So maybe I will consult you for additional information in that area as a potential politician. The profs, your presence and engaging delivery have made this afternoon truly memorable and intellectually stimulating. Please, can we give him another round of applause? We want to thank Emeritus Professor Austin Obasanjo, our special guest, for gracing this important occasion. Thank you very much, sir. Our gratitude also goes to the principal officers present here for your esteemed presence and support. Thank you, our dear Provost, College of Health Sciences, the host Provost, the host college, and your team for your unwavering commitment to academic excellence as demonstrated by the successful organization of this lecture. I can tell you for free that the Provost and I have been on phone, on WhatsApp, 24/7 before this event. The LOC chairman, Professor Uche, the same thing, she has been on my neck up to the time that we started this lecture. So we appreciate you. Thank you. We also thank the deans, the directors, the heads of departments, staff for their presence. To our dear students, your keen interest and participation in this lecture is quite appreciated. We also appreciate your useful contributions during the Q&A session. For our virtual participants, we thank you for being part of this historic event. And finally, to members of our university community present here, thank you for your enthusiastic attendance and for contributing to the vibrant intellectual atmosphere of this event. Thank you once again, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Registrar, for that wonderful vote of thanks. We have come to the end of the event, but before we exit the hall, here a quick announcement. At the end of the event, we're going to rise to our feet for the closing prayer. We're going to take the university anthem and the national anthem. While we are still standing, the chairman will lead the delegation on the high table outside to the foyer for the group photograph. Students are expected to remain seated while they get handed their refreshment. Before then, I would also want to once again appreciate and commend the presence of the beautiful women of Okada community who were one of those to make their way to the hall today. Please, can we give them a round of applause? I also want to thank the members of the organizing committee for putting on a very beautiful show. Please, can we give them a round of applause, please? To the staff and students of the College of Health Sciences, you have outdone yourselves. Please, can you give yourselves a round of applause? May we now rise for the closing prayer. The closing prayer would be delivered by Muslimat Mohammed Muluku, a 500 level medical student. Please come to the microphone for that.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Thank you very much. Kindly remain standing as the chairman leads the team outside to the foyer for the group photograph. Please, all students are expected to remain in the hall for their refreshment. Please, all students are expected to remain seated in the hall for the refreshment. Thank you very much once again for your time. We'll see you same place, same time next year. Have a very wonderful day.
Wanna make noise, wanna. My do.
The president of Pluto.
Desperado. Many. My amigo. I'll tell you, it's to give me photo. Paparazzi. Don Julio.